Welcome back to the Entrepreneurship Podcast.
Hello. Welcome.
We're your hosts on today's adventure. Episode 32. I don't know. Is our numbering even accurate? Does this mean we've done 32?
We've done more than 32 because this
Okay,
is...
so that numbering is not accurate.
Well, I think it's like mostly accurate.
We got to figure that out.
We did a financial series there in January of 2021. And so...
With some rabbit trail episodes.
Yeah, so we had a few extra episodes there, which probably brings it more like 40 or something like that.
Okay. Well, today we're going to talk about our failures or things that we've quit and moved on from. And business-wise, or some of them probably more side hustle-wise. And I'll keep you at the edge of your seat. Bet you can't wait to hear.
We love talking about them.
Yes, as most people do. Before we do that, as usual, Kelly, start us out.
Okay, so I normally do a would you rather question of the day for Josiah. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, would you rather live on a boat for the summer or live in a treehouse for the same season for the summer?
Okay. I need more information. Where is the boat?
I'm not gonna.
And where is the tree?
I'm not.
I get to decide that.
You can decide. Well, like in comparable locations. Comparable locations. Like,
okay, so
clearly the tree's not in the middle of the ocean. I know that.
Figure it out. Mega yacht with wait for it, a tree with a tree house on it. I choose both.
I knew you would.
Just wait, Jeff Bezos, if you're listening, put a tree house on your yacht.
Why limit Josiah to anything? He doesn't need. He just makes it work for him.
Well, you didn't define the parameters of the question because that is very important.
It is.
Live on a boat. Live on a boat where? The Arctic Circle in the middle of the winter? No,
well,
thanks.
I know. I said summer.
The summer? Okay.
I did say summer. During the summer, would you rather live on a boat or live in a treehouse?
You didn't say what time period?
The summer?
No. What year? We're talking in the past. We're talking in the future.
Oh my!
Are there pirates? Is Blackbeard out there? Is Johnny Depp and his crew? Is he finished with the trial?
There's still pirates nowadays.
Yes.
You know that.
More Somalian in nature.
But okay, serious answer.
I'd probably pick the treehouse. Boats are cool and all, but I don't know that I'd want to live kind of confined like on a boat in the water for a long period of time.
Now, neither of them, I wouldn't say like it automatically restricts you from like getting out of the house.
Goodness, the rules are changing again.
No, it's like treat it like, okay, this is like the house we live in. Like we still like drive away from it or go do stuff and then come back. This is like if you had to live in a tree house or a boat house or on a boat for the summer.
For the summer. Probably boat then. Mega yacht
specifically.
All the luxuries and in a prime fishing territory. We're talking maybe like
that would not be shocking.
Maybe around the Hawaiian Islands could be fun. What's your answer?
I would choose treehouse.
Treehouse?
I get nauseous on boats.
Okay.
Well, like I've been on like a cruise ship before.
Uh-huh.
I got like nauseous one night or something like that. I don't know. Because it was like pretty stormy and the waves got pretty bad. But yeah, I mean, you've been with me on a fishing boat, a chartered fishing boat. They're fun. Don't get me wrong. I do enjoy it. But I don't think I'd want to live on one only because I'm sure you get your sea legs at some point. But
yeah.
I prefer a treehouse.
That's fair.
I think it'd be really cool to be like way high up. Like in the tree on the side of a mountain or something. That'd be kind of fun.
Okay. You know what we need to look into?
What?
We're talking about trees. I'm eating pistachios here.
Oh,
We
my
should buy a
goodness.
pistachio farm.
Why?
I hear they are wonderful.
Why a pistachio farm?
Those pistachios are good. Well,
You're a little busy.
yeah, I'm getting distracted by these pistachios.
Oh my goodness.
Let's move on. Let's talk about side hustles we quit or tried and failed. Let's probably start with ones that we kind of tried and failed. And by failed we didn't necessarily like lose a ton of money or something like that. We invested a bunch of time. Maybe saw a little bit of success or no success at all, and ultimately decided this isn't for us. Whether it wasn't working the way we thought it would, or it wasn't really something we enjoyed, or it didn't really fit into the lifestyle or the structure of our lives. So I'll kick it off with everyone knows Amazon.com and how you can buy products there. There's a whole nother side of Amazon besides the normal physical products. There's the Amazon merch is the first one I want to talk to you about. And I dabbled with it on and off for probably about a year. And basically how it works is you can sign up, get an account, and then you design, think like a Photoshop design, different prints that can go on merch. And by merch, I believe they now offer shirts, hoodies. I think they were doing like pop sockets and cell phone
Oh, that's kinda
cases
cool.
too for a little bit, and then a bunch of variations and varieties in those categories. And so what you do is I designed a few prints to go onto t-shirts, and then it's print on demand. So my t-shirt designs are listed live on Amazon.com. You can find them. I think maybe I have 2 live still. You can find them and buy them from there. And then if they are purchased, Amazon will then print that shirt and mail it to you. And so what's really cool about the opportunity with that, if that's something you're into, kind of graphic design space, is that there's not really too much investment upfront on your part,
Right.
and is really, really scalable. And you don't have to have a ton of inventory sitting in your office or in your warehouse.
Right.
The shirts only get printed if someone buys them. Now the margins are pretty small. I think if I remember correctly, some of the t-shirts I have sold in the $15 to $20 range, and I've made $2 or $3 profit off each of those. So it's not much. In order to make money in that business, you need to have a large catalog of shirts and designs and things like that. And I still really see the potential with that. It just didn't really interest me to be doing the actual design of t-shirts, or even within that, you got to do a lot of research to figure out what niches are going to be popular, figure out where the demand is and what's missing, try to make something
Right.
that's unique. Because yeah, you might want a t-shirt with a dragon that has butterfly wings on it, but maybe nobody else wants that. Or maybe there's 100 of those exact t-shirts out there already, and it's kind of that niche is saturated. So that was a cool one that we tried. I think
But you didn't use Photoshop. What did you use again? Did you use?
no, I used GIMP,
Okay.
which is some similarities to Photoshop. It's free, so that's great. And yeah, that's a really cool thing about merch by Amazon is for a while there was a little hard to get signed up in the account. There was a long wait list to get approved, but if you need to or want to, you can do it with 0 upfront costs, and you're just investing your time.
Right.
Or if you have a little money and you want to try this out, you can even hire designers to design the logo, the shirts for you. And so say you come up with the ideas, you do the research, then you send the idea to someone on maybe Fiverr, or maybe you hire someone full time in a more virtual capacity and have them do the tedious design work that I did not enjoy. And then you kind of proof it and upload it and then manage your catalog. So yeah, that was an interesting one. I don't know. I've still got the account active. Maybe someday in the future we'll hop on there again. Every now and then I'd sell a shirt. We're talking big numbers, like maybe $8 profit a year.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, it's probably sell a shirt about once a quarter.
Now to clarify, this does not mean people do not make good money doing this specifically on Amazon, or even doing it their own print off of like like if they literally print it themselves, like on Etsy or other ways of selling it. Like selling t-shirts is a great way to do, like, to make money, and people do it full time. And I'm pretty sure you were watching or learned from people who do it full time, like make full-time income selling directly on Amazon, doing this merchant.
Yeah, if you're interested in it, look it up on YouTube, Amazon merch. In order to make significant money, you need a lot of designs out there.
Naturally.
Because yeah, my shirt sells maybe 4 times a year, but imagine how that would look if I had 100 shirts that sold 4 times a year.
Right.
Or maybe if I did my research better and I had 100 shirts that sold a couple times a month each.
Or better designs, or
Yeah,
right. Like
yeah.
there's going to be
so
naturally
I
that.
think when Amazon merch first started, when Amazon first started it, it was kind of a wild, wild west, and any design that you could make would sell pretty well. But over time, supply and demand, some of the different ideas got saturated. Like you could look
Unicorns,
up,
I'm sure.
yeah, unicorns probably. You can look up like really, really popular stuff. Like pick out one of the most popular political phrases right now. What's
Right.
that Joe Biden sticker that people put on gas pumps? Like a picture of Joe and then like, I did this.
Or something like that.
I
Yeah.
bet, unless there's some trademark infringement kind of thing that Amazon doesn't allow,
Sure.
I bet there's a bunch of varieties of shirts that have a silhouette of a elderly gentleman that looks kind of like our president pointing a finger. You get the gist.
Right.
Moving on, though, I think another one that's very similar idea that we tried, I think we put maybe 5 times as much effort into this one as we did as compared to Amazon merch, is Amazon KDP. Very similar idea. It's a print on demand system with Amazon, but it's focused on books. And so
you could essentially use it to like self-publish like a book and sell it through Amazon. Like I go write a book and sell that. Typically though, what people are using it for to make like consistent amount of money, unless it's that way, is they're making like notebooks, they're making what's another one?
coloring books.
Yeah, coloring books, crossword puzzles, like that sort of thing. And so they make cool like cover designs, and then they actually have like good quality insides, like a notebook or a calendar or whatever it is, a planner, that sort of thing. And then they sell it that way.
Yeah, so you can publish actual books, and I don't know anything about that space, about publishing books. I'd imagine if you have a good book and you have the time or the means to market it to publishers, there's probably better ways to go about it than self-publishing through KDP, but it's an option. And it's cool that it is an option, because it means that I could, if I wanted to, write a book tonight and have it published by the weekend. I could be a published author by this weekend. I mean, I guess technically I am, because we've posted several different books on Amazon KDP platform.
Right.
But the niche that we were looking at within that is what they call low content books or no content books. No content would be defined as books that are like journals or calendar books or
Planners? Is that what you're calling
yeah,
that?
planners, things like that, where basically you design a cover, a back page, and maybe 1 or 2 pages for the inside, and then that page is repeated for the entirety of the book. So you can look on Amazon and you can buy a journal or a notebook or a diary book with just about anything on the cover because they're all printed on demand through this system, which is pretty
Right.
cool. With that, there's a lot of competition, especially in those no content journal type books. So you got to do a lot of research, just like the shirts, and find something that's unique. Perhaps a better way to go about it is the low content books. A little more work, but you can make something a little more unique because you're actually putting some unique stuff in the inside. And low content would be more defined as puzzle books. Think like a Sudoku book, where you could use a software of some type to randomly generate 1,000 Sudoku puzzles. And then you format that into a book, and you make a quality listing on Amazon and a quality cover that's eye-catching. And you could have a top-selling Sudoku book or a coloring book. Maybe there's not a great coloring book for wildlife of Alaska, like the fish and the bears or something like that. Something that's unique that has a demand. Our video just dropped off. Oh, we're back. What's another low content book idea that we looked at doing?
Oh, there was I don't think we actually ended up doing it, but what are they called? Like stories and specifically like children's books because they can be easier to do that have a same storyline like Cinderella, and it's been out of what's it called?
Oh, yes,
copyright for like copyright runs out at like what 50 years or something like that. And so once it goes beyond that, then anybody can sell it. And so you just make like the artwork for the line, like the different like words that the kids books are using, or I guess you could do adult books like that, but it's not necessarily the same.
So what you're getting at, there's a lot of really popular old school books where the copyright has run out, and so anyone can copy that text and put it in a book and publish it. And so there's probably a lot of competition in that space because it's I think Cinderella was one that we looked at just to see kind of how it worked. And there's a ton of different versions of Cinderella available on Amazon for this
Some
exact
of them
reason.
were very bad.
It's a popular story. It's there's no copyright, so you can copy and paste the text. And the trick is, how do you format it so it's more appealing than the others? Do you add photos on every 10th page? How do you make the cover so it looks unique and modern or something like that? And that is a cool opportunity there as well. So I think in total, how many books do you think that we published on KDP? Maybe I can look real quick.
I couldn't even tell you.
I'm gonna guess about 30.
I was gonna say something like just under 50.
Yeah.
By books, we were mostly doing what, like notebooks, planners, that sort of thing.
Mostly the no content kind of stuff. Journals. We set up a couple formats and then just kind of ran with those and changed the cover and uploaded that same kind of thing multiple times. So, well, we've got 5 pages of 10. So we actually have closer to 50 different books published.
Sweet.
And in all of those, most of them have never sold.
What?
And there is one book in particular that Kelly made that sells maybe
Every
one
once in a
one
while.
copy every month, or yeah,
Hey,
it's
that's
close
pretty
to
cool.
that. And we're
Check
talking
it.
again super low profit. We're selling like a $7 book, and each time it sells we make $1.50. But you can see the potential with that again, just like the merch. You got to put in time up front to research and design it. But once it's out there, Amazon does all the printing, fulfillment, customer service, etc. And you can, if you want to get real tricky in with it, you can do ads and things to help promote the book. It just ultimately it kind of fizzled out because it wasn't. We were looking at it as this is a great business opportunity, but it wasn't really something we enjoyed doing, the designing.
Right.
And so
by that idea, what he means is like a business opportunity for us being like it didn't take a lot of like effort, knowledge, know-how ahead of time. We just had to take our time and do it.
Yeah, and so
And like design the covers, put together the insides. And by putting together the insides, we ended up getting I don't know if it's called technically a software, but we got access to like a website place that was selling specifically stuff for KDP. Like you could put planner pages together, you could put notebook pages together, you could do a variety of them like all together, if that kind of makes sense. So so that part, the inside of it, actually ended up being a lot easier that way because we ended up getting access from somebody who designed them really well, and like had the layout was great specifically for KDP. But the covers, yeah, it took a while. It took not because like you could take like 5 minutes, 10 minutes to make a cover, but like I could take 2 minutes to make a cover, but will it sell? I don't know. We have to do research, right? So I think that's fine.
yeah, one thing that we tried with that side hustle, we were hoping to grow that to the point where we could make a couple grand a month or something in a pretty passive type capacity. You put in a lot of upfront time and effort, but if you get a few titles, just like the merch, that do really well, then you can have continual revenue and income coming in without having to invest any more time. And so that idea was
Right.
really cool. We
And
didn't
then the
we
other
didn't like designing. And so the way we tried to get around that was I had a virtual assistant at the time who was doing some work for me. And so we tried having her do a bunch of designs for us. And we made a spreadsheet with the ideas of what we want the design to be, and then we kind of let her use her creative know-how or whatever
and she
to
made some
design the
great
covers.
stuff.
And that was mostly with no content journals, and she was designing different covers for that. And she made some cool stuff. Ultimately, I think the problem we had there was we never did proper research into what kind of books there was a demand for, and we didn't ever really figure out and kind of
Yeah.
the listing process in order to make sure that our book is going to somehow show up in front of other people's books when people search for it. That's more like the SEO stuff. That's not something that we've honestly, learning a little more about SEO would probably help us in a couple of our businesses.
But specifically for Amazon SEO is maybe slightly different. It can be similar, but yeah, we didn't want to take our time and do all that for that side of the business.
So we quit.
But yeah, we didn't really waste a ton of money. Like by waste, like we paid money for we paid the VA some money, and we paid for access to the like insides for like the notebook planner pages, that sort of thing. But ultimately, like it was worth it. Like
Yeah,
a learning curve, at least.
We probably invested 100 hours and $100, and we've probably made revenue wise maybe $20 now. But who knows? Just think about 30 years from now, if this one book Kelly made keeps selling 4 times a year.
No,
that's about $8 a
I
year.
will say that
we will be net profit for that side hustle. It'll only take 30 years.
The only reason why that one sold was because it was so unique. And I think it's still one of the only ones up on Amazon KDP.
Yeah.
In that field, which I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Without saying exactly what it was, it's one reason it worked out is because it's something that Kelly knows and is passionate about. And so she saw that there were some options out there that kind of met the need, but those options weren't great. And Kelly, being knowledgeable in this field, knew a way to make a better version. And ultimately, why are there only like 4 sales a year? Probably because there's not a huge demand for this specific category. We haven't looked in a while, but ours is probably the best one. There's just not many people looking for that specifically.
Well, I literally think it might be like the only one, if not one of 2 or something. Like it's very like there's not a ton of it.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next one. So, which one do we want to do first? These all kind of go together. These go with.
Let's do the one that's in order.
These next 2 or 3, depending on how you look at them, all go with our e-commerce business. And so I'll give you a brief history of our e-commerce business. I've dabbled in eBay for over a decade, maybe 12, 15 years, on and off. Sometimes a little more interested in it, sometimes don't do anything for a year or 2. Mostly looking at that eBay, it's flipping things from say like thrift stores or garage sales, things like that. And at some point we desired to take that to the next level. And so that's when I started taking Amazon pretty seriously and doing used books on Amazon. Somewhere in that period, we decided to try something else in that same e-commerce space. And it didn't really, we bought some inventory and I don't think we sold. No, I think we sold one. Why don't you talk about it, Kelly? This was something that you spent more time on than me.
For which one? The one that we're
Etsy.
On the list?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
On Etsy. Okay. So this was what, 2 years ago?
Oh, probably about 2018.
Was it 2018? Oh, wow. That really was a while.
Yep.
You're right. It might have been 2019 to 2020. So Etsy was becoming more popular back then. And then, or at least more common name, maybe so popular. And definitely that Etsy is definitely way more of a like creative, like you design and create and upload and sell from Etsy. So very similar in that like it's a third party store, kind of like Amazon, but it's not like Amazon in the same way because it's very unique products that an artist or creator and whatnot, designer.
It's closer to eBay.
Sure, but eBay is more like
style.
In platform style, yes, but not in what they're selling, right? It's interesting how all these platforms are similar. They just sell way different things because that's what people know them as. Amazon's known for you buy like a new item. You don't always know to go to Amazon for used stuff, that sort of thing. Anywho, on Etsy, it was also, I think during that time period, they were starting to or had more recently, it was becoming more popular to upload, what would you call them? Like antiques, maybe used items, very unique things like that. And so while we were at thrift stores, which Josiah will talk about with something else, I would go with him from time to time. Well, and I just like going to thrift stores anyways. But when I was there, I always saw the like plates and dishes. And you can I think you had noticed on eBay or maybe from people you were watching on YouTube, that they would sell antiques on eBay, but it wouldn't always go as well. So I thought, let's try Etsy for that. And so I bought some plates that I thought might do all right. And I think we ended up selling one. But to clarify, I think we only ended up buying like max, like 10 pieces of dishes or pottery or something.
Yeah. Maybe 10 or 12 items. And I don't think we even finished listing all of them because we kind of found
we listed a handful just to see like the ones we thought that would do the best, and then we noticed it just wasn't what we wanted to do. Wasn't like, it was just like a cycle, right? Like it's another learning curve. We realized it was something we didn't want to do, and it wasn't worth our time.
It's a niche in the eBay Etsy field that you have to know a lot about. There's a lot of pottery pieces out there if you go to a thrift store.
Right.
And what it seems like is most of them are not worth anything. They might be pretty to look at, but they're a mass-produced Chinese thing.
But you have to find some unique pieces.
But there are needles in the haystack that could be worth hundreds.
Right.
And in order to find those, you have to have a lot of knowledge about that niche. And so I think we had both kind of seen examples of the needles in the haystack and how much things could sell for. And so we thought it was something worth trying. And then we ultimately decided we have no desire to learn about popular pottery brands and niches and vintage things. We'll leave that to other people that enjoy that.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Just like I think it's very popular, like vintage shoes or clothing and that sort of thing can be similar on eBay and Etsy, and other Poshmark now is a big one. But we're not into that. Like we don't know enough about that industry to like start selling that sort of thing. Like we're not, like we might buy something because we like it or like we would enjoy it or whatever, but we're not going to sell it because we don't know enough about that industry.
Yeah. So
another learning
to move on with those first three that we just talked about, lessons that we learned. I think we learned a decent bit from each of these. It wasn't necessarily a waste of time because of the knowledge we gained about these different industries or about learning about ourselves and what we want to do or desire to do in a business. Or probably one of the biggest things is if we're just chasing a business idea because it looks lucrative, we're not going to be as passionate about it or as interested in it. And I think you're probably more likely to fail if you don't have some unique interest in whatever that thing is. Like all three of these are really solid business models. And there's a lot of people that do great in these. Some that do them full time, some that just make a couple $100 or a couple thousand extra a month doing each of these. But for us, we tried them. We didn't enjoy them. And we moved on.
Right. I think even if we'd made like, let's say several $1,000s off of these things, I think at some point we would just run ourselves ragged. I mean, like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I don't care if I'm making full-time income. I don't want to do it.
And perhaps one thing to consider with the first two, Amazon KDP and Amazon merch, I enjoy learning a lot of different business concepts and things like in that category off of YouTube. And when you look up some of these YouTube videos, you're seeing people that are sometimes selling a product related to that space, or they've become very successful after a few years of hard work in this industry. And you end up seeing the final result. You're like, wow, this guy's making how much money? And he makes it sound so simple. And so I definitely got kind of a little shiny object syndrome with those two Amazon ones, because I started following some different YouTubers that were talking about how lucrative these business spaces can be and how easy it can be. And that got me real excited. And then we didn't have the instant success that I expected. And the work to get to that success level that those guys were at wasn't something that interested us. So
Yeah, naturally.
to move on, this next one isn't really one that we failed at or quit. It's kind of one that we grew out of. Our current e-commerce business is primarily focused on selling on Amazon. Amazon.com is the platform. We're third-party sellers, and that business right now provides the entirety of our the income we need to pay our bills. We have some other businesses that are making money as well, but we keep the profits from those in those businesses so they can continue growing. This one is what pays the bills right now, and it's doing pretty well. We started with flipping stuff on eBay years ago, mostly from thrift stores. And kind of along with the pottery dish thing, I targeted things that I kind of understood. One thing you can do is if you go to a thrift store and something's got a barcode on it, scan it. You can scan it with eBay, you can scan it with Amazon, whatever. That's the easiest thing to do. You don't have to know what's inside the package. If you see the package is sealed and there's a barcode and you can say that it's new or open box in condition, there's a good chance there's some money there. I often find vintage or discontinued items that are worth some money because they're really hard to find. Somebody had it in their garage for 30 years and then finally cleared out their garage and decided they didn't need that, let's say, air filter for a humidifier. That's something I find pretty often. Older, harder ones to find. So that's what I was doing with eBay. And then I started trying to expand that business because going to thrift stores is time consuming. And there had to be a better way to source inventory in order to scale that. And so one thing we did I did mostly for probably the better part of a year was some local auction sites. There was one in particular where the auction was completely online, but they were doing mostly estate sale cleanouts and business liquidations. And they'd take photos of all the lots and it would be posted for about a week or two. And it was online bidding, just like eBay bidding. And if you wanted to, you could go in person to go inspect the stuff closer and take a closer look. Sometimes they do guns, things like that. And I had some pretty good success buying some unique lots from those and flipping them on eBay. That did pretty well. But still, it was kind of hard to scale that into what we wanted. And that's when I found used books on Amazon, selling used books on Amazon. Probably 2013 or 14. I was a student in college trying to find a way to get the most money out of my old textbooks as I could. And I happened upon the Amazon page for the book I was trying to sell. And there was a little yellow button that said, have this, sell it here, or something like that. And I clicked it and I just kind of kept clicking and I opened the Amazon account, not knowing what I was doing, and I sold do anything until about 2020. And I remembered that and started doing a little more research, found a couple guys on YouTube that were teaching this whole business model of used books on Amazon. You'd be surprised. There are people making a really, really nice living selling used books on Amazon. And a common question is, but aren't books dead? Nobody reads books anymore.
That's not true.
That's wrong. Yeah, in fact, the pandemic in some ways saw a boost for books. In some ways, things like textbooks went down a little because of school cancellations, but overall, that was one of those hobbies that people went back to, and there's still a huge demand for physical books. Um, maybe someday in our future, in our lifetimes or our kids' lifetimes, ebooks will be the only way. But for the imminent
I'm not
future,
sure.
physical books, there's a
Right.
lot of opportunity there too. Especially when you can go to a thrift store or a library sale and get a book for 25 cents, a dollar, $2. And if it's the right book, you could sell it for hundreds or even thousands. I've known some people that have sold books they picked up for a dollar or two for several thousand. It's incredible. And so the ROI with that is amazing. And we used that to help scale that business. We were hoping to take that to a kind of part-time income level, but that required a lot of books. I think about 10,000 in inventory to get to what we wanted. And ultimately, why we're talking about this as something we walked away from was, given the area that we live in, we were having a hard time scaling that business. There just wasn't enough books that we could easily find, and the methods to ship them out of state were slow.
Right.
And so that was really hindering that business. We
If
had
you
to
didn't know, we live in Alaska, so
Yeah, so I was using, if you sell on Amazon and you're going to send your products to an Amazon warehouse, Amazon has some phenomenal deals with UPS to get you really cheap shipping rates. But if you live in Alaska, you're not eligible for those. So that sucks. So I just ship them using normal rates. And the cheapest way to ship books is USPS Media Mail. I
yeah.
could ship a 50-pound box of books for around $28.12
What a
to
nerd.
Rialto, California. So that's a little more than 50 cents a pound. That's pretty decent rate. That's not bad. I can't complain about that. But what I can complain about is how long that took. That box, that 50-pound box of books would sit in Anchorage for a week or
long
so,
time.
waiting for the next barge to come in. Literally barge. These things got boated from here down to Seattle, Tacoma. And on average, it was about 3 weeks from the day I dropped it at the post office to the day that Amazon actually received it. And so that's a tough
big delay.
That's a tough way to scale a business. And then books in general are a slower sell-through rate, as opposed to some other things you can look at. So the ROI was phenomenal, and it was a great way to wet our feet in the Amazon space, learn a lot about it, grow our capital. But it was hard to sustain that as a business at scale for the revenue and profit levels we wanted.
Naturally.
One other difficult part with that, the books particularly, we were doing a cherry picking model where, using some great software, Scout IQ, made by Caleb Roth, really cool guy. Met him down in Miami a few months ago. Really fun chatting with him. He created this software that's on your phone. You connect a Bluetooth scanner, and then you can go from book to book to book at a thrift store, at a garage sale, at a library sale. And all you do is you scan the barcodes. The software connects with Amazon, looks at the sales data, and then tells you whether or not it's a good buy based off of what parameters you're looking for. So it's really a numbers game if you're doing that model, cherry picking. Scan a couple thousand books and hope to get 100 or so profitable ones. I'm trying to remember what a good accept percentage for us was, I think it was maybe around 5% of books.
Maybe I thought it was like 10.
Okay,
Maybe it was 5.
definitely under 10. I
I
think
think
it
it
was,
depended
yeah, it
on the
depended, but
store.
in general, about 5% of books that I scanned were profitable and worth purchasing to flip. And so it's a numbers game. I would, for several months,
Right.
I'd spend probably about 20 hours a week at thrift stores. And there's 4 or 5 main thrift stores in town. I'd hit every thrift store every week and spend 3 or 4 hours there, scanning probably about 1,000 books an hour. And it was tiring and exhausting. But it was rewarding to walk out of there with literally a cart full of books. I think a time or two, I overflowed the cart and probably should have gotten a second cart. Didn't happen often. But that's hard to scale. I was having to invest a lot of time, and so that's when we looked into and hired 2 people to source books for us. We set up a commission pay type schedule. For every book that met the parameters, I'd pay them a certain amount.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they got a certain number of books per week, I'd give them a bonus. And that was my way of trying to incentivize them to go and spend more time doing it. If they got 100 books in a week, I'd give them a bonus of like $50 more or something. And so I thought it was a really lucrative opportunity for them. That's how I tried to set it up so that they could make a really high dollar per hour wage. But neither of them really got as motivated as I was to go find books. And especially when it was at their own pace, at their own schedule, when and how much they wanted. It was hard to motivate them. And I had to start setting up a minimum number of books that I wanted each week. And the problem wasn't that they weren't finding books. It was that they weren't finding time to go search for books. And it was overall a motivation issue because they both recognized the opportunity for making really good money with the pay scale I set up for them. But there were issues with them actually getting to the store and doing it. And I've talked with a bunch of other booksellers that have tried a very similar structure for hiring employees, and they've run into the same problem. So I don't know what the ultimate solution, if you're going to try to hire employees for cherry picking, is, but it's
Find very self-motivated people.
yeah,
but
yeah,
that can still be hard in a like very part-time-ish or however. I mean, you could make it full-time, but like that's all on you because it has to be self-motivated.
right.
And if you can't find somebody who's not self-motivated, and by that we mean like, so somebody could still be a hard worker and not be self-motivated. And what does that mean? Somebody can show up and clock in at their job from whatever, 9 to 5, from their shift from 2 to 6, whatever it is, and they can work really hard, but they're told to be somewhere and to be there for this long, and this is your hours this week and next week, or however your month schedule, however you're told. And then a self-motivated person has to be not only hardworking, but be motivated enough to, you know what, I'm going to work it out because this afternoon I'm busy, but I'm going to go early this morning. Or, I can't go in the morning, but today I can go late at night before they close.
It's a mentality thing for many people. And I think maybe we've both run into this ourselves because we had a commission type job in the past where it was all, we make the schedule, we do it how much or how little we want. It's harder to go do something like that as opposed to do a part-time or full-time job where there's someone telling you exactly when to show up. Even if that part-time job pays half as much as the commission on your own job. It's a mentality thing. And
Well, and it's really dependent on like not just because like okay, you're automatically not self-motivated. We're not self-motivated for many reasons in certain areas, right? Like we don't like clearly to do KDP or to do some of these other tasks we just talked about.
Yeah.
That we weren't self-motivated. Like we tried for a while and we are like, you know what? This is actually something we don't desire to do. So I'm gonna back off of this. That doesn't make you not a hard worker. It just means like you have to be self-motivated in this area. And like money doesn't always tie people to that. And that's totally fair. That's actually would make sense.
Because I feel and I know that the commission and wage I was offering them was pretty lucrative compared to the other opportunities they had. The one lady, for example, she had a part-time job as a barista. And I think she had even told me how much she was making. But if she had dedicated the time more consistently to doing the books, she could have easily made more than the barista job. And even in her not so dedicated hours of sourcing the books, I think on average she was making 1.5 to 2 times as much per hour invested. And she knew that. She knew that because she told me that. But there was a disconnect in what do you do with that information motivation wise?
Right.
And the other lady, the same thing. It took her a month and a half, maybe 2 months for it to click in her head, the pay structure that I had set up. And one day she's like, I sat down last night and I was thinking about, and I realized if I just get X number of books, I'd be making roughly this much per hour based off of how many books I've been finding per hour. And I was like, yes, you get it. Exactly. That's why I set it up that way because I want this to be win-win for both of us.
Right.
And so I was really hopeful, like, okay, she gets it. In 2 weeks, when I meet up with her again, she's gonna have a ton of books. Like she's got that motivation financially now because she understands the pay structure. 2 weeks later, I didn't have time to get out. It was just a busy 2 weeks. And
which happens and it's fair, but see, that's where the self-motivation lies. Like you can be a very hard worker, and both of these ladies seem like they were hard workers. It was just like if you're not motivated, self-motivated in this area to go do, you're not going to. That's just how it is.
Yeah. And
if you're not self-motivated, you could be a very hard worker and, be like, I'm going to go to the gym. And you actually are a hard worker in general, but like you don't go to the gym. You're not self-motivated to go to the gym. I mean, you're just not going to go.
Yeah. So with both of those, the first lady I kind of ended up firing, I think. It was somewhat mutual. She just wasn't putting the time in. It wasn't working out. She wasn't able to meet the minimum requirements. And so she moved on. And the other one, she was having trouble prioritizing it because she had 2 other part-time jobs. Even though those other part-time jobs weren't paying as much as this opportunity could have, she just was having trouble fitting into the schedule. And that's because of, personal choices she made to take those 2 part-time jobs.
Sure.
One of them she had when I hired her. The other one she picked up while she was working for me, which is like, come on. You knew how lucrative this book opportunity was, and you went out and got a different job. So is what it is. That was her choice. And because of some of those difficulties with scaling the book business, biggest one probably being our location here in Alaska and the resources book-wise that we have, we decided to move on. And that's when I started getting into more retail arbitrage that was a little more scalable, a little more capital intensive, but also in general, a quicker return on that investment. And then now doing probably about 95% online arbitrage, which is even way more scalable in conjunction with a prep center. We can talk about that some other time. Do you want to touch on this last one really, really quick, Kelly, and then we'll wrap things up? Or you want to save it for another time?
Oh, yeah, I can just briefly touch on it. I think we've chatted about it on here before. But yeah, the tutoring. So, okay, we've been talking about things we've quit or tried and failed. This would probably lean more towards what you were just talking about with like eBay/book selling. It was something that just mostly though a time in our life had changed. So I had been tutoring math specifically for, what was it, a year and a half, 2 years, something like that.
Almost 2 years, I think.
I think it was about 2 years. And like high school kids, I was, helping them through algebra, geometry, that sort of thing. Anywho, and that was great. And I love math. But we had our son, and we both like had discussed, like, yeah, Josiah and I, excuse me, we had both discussed, let's maybe like wean off of that, mostly for the time wise. It was just like, well, I'd prefer not to like be doing that or build that or grow that more. Let's just like, I'll just have it. And now I just tutor on the side for just friends, on a barter system. I typically do barter system with like the high schoolers, or like age appropriate, like, are you capable of like babysitting, or do you want a lawn mow, or what do you want to do?
Yeah,
And I think that's a great way.
Trade tutoring for like guns and things like that.
Oh my goodness, no.
So that business side hustle was a success, and for the better part of a year, that was the thing that you did with most of your time. It wasn't.
I still left it part time.
It wasn't full time, but there were a couple periods there where you were probably doing 20 to 30 hours a week.
Maybe more like 20, but yeah.
20. And so that went really well, and just the stage in our life shifted, and we moved on from that. But that was a cool opportunity. I think you learned a lot through it with managing a business. That was probably the first kind of legitimate business that.
Well, we had to, I had to track accounting to then report for taxes and that sort of thing. You need
a business license, accounting, taxes.
Yeah, that was the first, because everything else.
Making sure people paid you, invoicing, and
because before that, I just had my full-time, like normal maybe not normal being the word, but 9 to 5 job. And so, they take care of all that.
Yeah.
So.
One other last one that I'll mention, and we'll talk about some other time. We were very, very close to getting into Airbnb arbitrage a few years ago. And because of the pandemic and things with that didn't happen because tourism changed. And I think maybe we can dedicate a whole episode in the future to talk about what we've looked into with Airbnb and maybe some of our future plans with that. Probably nothing this year, but probably not too far away. We'll do some Airbnb stuff. But with that, thanks for joining us for episode 32-ish.
32-ish.
Thanks for following along. Let us know if you want to hear more about any of these specific business side hustle endeavors that we've tried, failed, or moved on from. You can follow us on Instagram. I'm at Bacon Bagel AK
underscore
AK.
Bacon Bagel underscore AK. And then I'm at Jelly Bagel underscore AK. And then you can find us, if you're listening on our podcast, you can find us on YouTube, Entrepreneurship. And then other way around, you find us and you can find our podcast anywhere you download podcasts from.
Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Bye.